He's a good man. He does a great job, and he's a tough negotiator.
If he's a great man and you want to do a deal with Canada, why aren't you?
Because I want to be a great man, too.
Praise and positivity in the Oval Office during the Prime Minister's second meeting with the U.S. President. But tonight, Canadian officials say there's progress but no agreement.
We're going to get the right deal for America, right deal, obviously, from my perspective, for Canada.
The public spectacle, the private talks, and the pressure building at home.
It's time to hit back if he can't get a deal.
We break it all down with a special Tuesday night at Issue. And we're in Tel Aviv tonight as Israel marks 2 years since the horror of October the 7th. Profound grief, but also hope here in Israel and in Gaza that the devastating war sparked by Hamas's attacks could soon end.
And developing tonight, Blue Jays fans have their eyes on New York.
Let's go Blue Jays! Yeah!
The pivotal playoff game.
He's hit it out!
From CBC News, this is The National with Christine Barak and Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault in Tel Aviv.
Thanks for joining us. Canadian officials say they are optimistic tonight that relief from U.S. tariffs could be coming. This after Mark Carney met Donald Trump in Washington for trade talks, his second visit to the Oval Office in less than 6 months. The tone was friendly, at times even jovial, the Prime Minister aiming to make progress on those crushing tariffs. The two talked steel, aluminum, and energy, Trump suggesting the deal would make Canadians love the U.S. again, but there's been no breakthrough announced. So the talks will continue tomorrow with both sides saying they want an agreement quickly. Ashley Burke was inside the Oval Office as the two leaders took questions, and she shows us how it all went down.
Mark Carney back at the White House for the second time in 5 months, making another pitch to Donald Trump to drop his tariffs against Canada.
We're going to get the right deal for America, right deal, obviously, from my perspective, for Canada.
But so far, Carney hasn't reached any deal to bring relief to sectors hit hard by tariffs, like steel, aluminum, autos, and lumber.
Well, it's a complicated agreement, more complicated maybe than any other agreement we have on trade.
Trump joking about one way to solve it, his idea of Canada being a 51st state.
We're competing for the same business. That's the problem. That's why I keep mentioning one way to solve that problem is a very easy way.
Carney telling Trump Canada's willing to make big investments in the U.S. in return for what he wants.
Probably $8 trillion in the next 5 years if we get the agreement that we expect to get.
Trump offering hope a deal could come.
But I think they're going to walk away very happy. I think so.
And repeatedly asked why they haven't been able to reach a deal for months.
Is there anything that the Prime Minister has done that's making it more difficult or easier to reach a deal?
No, I think he's a great Prime Minister. I mean, he could represent me anytime. I will tell you, I'm not saying that because he's here, but he could be nasty. He could be very nasty.
If he's a great man and you want to do a deal with Canada, why aren't you?
Because I want to be a great man, too.
Thank you. Keep going.
The talks then moved behind closed doors as pressure built back home.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
He made a massive $1 trillion concession before the deal was even signed.
If Prime Minister Carney can't get a deal, we have to start hitting back.
Carney's point person on trade emerging from talks, calling it a substantial discussion, but no deal on tariff relief yet.
It concluded with the President and the Prime Minister directing us to continue the conversation and to quickly land deals.
But asked when exactly will Canada land a deal, LeBlanc wouldn't say. Sources say the Prime Minister sat down for a working dinner with Vice President J.D. Vance Tuesday night, and Canadian officials plan on Wednesday to continue talks. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Washington.
And Katie Simpson joins us now from the White House. So, Katie, there does appear to be optimism, momentum, but it also feels like we've seen this before without a breakthrough.
Yeah, you know, Canadians have seen this movie in the past, you know, thinking that something is imminent, something is close, and then it just doesn't quite come together. The feeling in the Oval Office today was very similar to that first meeting between Prime Minister Carney and President Trump. They clearly have a decent personal relationship. They joke with one another. It's respectful. But while that is important, it hasn't led to any sort of significant breakthrough that perhaps those in the Prime Minister's office had been hoping for. Think about what's changed from that first meeting until now. There are more tariffs, there are higher tariffs, and there are threats of new tariffs. And in addition to the relationship seeming to be in a better place, you know, Canada's made significant concessions. Think about the investments in border security, in defense spending, Canada getting rid of the digital services tax, lowering counter tariffs. All of those things meant to be goodwill measures, and so far it hasn't resulted in any good things for Canada just yet.
So as the talks continue then, what's your sense of what Canadians should be watching for?
Going into next year, if there isn't some sort of major breakthrough, it's going to make the renegotiation of CUSMA, the Canada-US-Mexico deal, even more difficult. Trump is expected to use tariffs as sort of a threat and a tool to try and extract more concessions out of his trading partners, Canada and Mexico. And so it will take this already brutal situation, possibly twist it and make it even more difficult.
All right, thanks, Katie. That's Katie Simpson at the White House tonight. And later, Rosie's here with the Ad Issue team. They will talk about the sit-down with Trump, the tone in the room, and whether Canada can come away with a win. That's in about 30 minutes. Now, back here in the Middle East, it has been a day that has weighed heavily on so many people. 2 years since the October 7th massacre, which set into motion a new devastating reality for the entire region. Here in Tel Aviv and throughout Israel, a state of mourning for the lives lost and prayer for those still being held hostage. In Gaza, more bombings, more death, despite negotiations aimed at ending the war. So tonight, we will hear from Palestinians forced to endure all of that bombardment and Canadians trying to make their voices heard. But our coverage begins with Paul Hunter, who traveled to southern Israel and the site of a music festival where hundreds were slaughtered.
It is the sheer number of faces, names, and lives depicted in the memorial at the site of the Nova Music Festival in southern Israel that is so sobering. Their fate, precisely 2 years ago, now known worldwide, killed. Nearly 400 people killed here, more than 36 others kidnapped. On this, the second anniversary of that terrible day, tears seemingly at every corner. Orit Baron's daughter, Yuval, got to the festival late that day, arriving just an hour before the attack began. Yuval was killed on the highway trying to escape.
What do you say to your daughter?
That I miss her so much. She was the unicorn of the house. And her smile, her noise, all the craziest thing in the world, that's what she was.
The brutal images from that day are still difficult to watch, let alone comprehend. 2 years later, and artillery fire not far from the Nova Memorial is a near constant reminder. Israel's response to the attacks, its brutal war on Hamas in Gaza, itself continues. And, by the way, among the memorials, those still in captivity.
It's like you living it again. It's horrific times for all the families. It's just an ongoing situation that we're gonna carry actually forever. Forever.
As the world also knows, the violence was hardly confined to the music festival. Overall, some 1,200 people were killed in Israel that day, 251 kidnapped, 48 still held, 20 believed still alive. So for all of them, moments of silence throughout the country to mark the anniversary. This is Jerusalem. This is Tel Aviv. All of it, 2 years later, leaving so many in this country still shaken, still mourning.
I cannot really start healing because I'm not only grieving about my children, it's about all the other hostages that are not still here. I really hope it will be end really, very soon.
And that's a feeling echoed, Adrian, by pretty much everyone we met with today.
And Paul, you were also there, right there, 2 years ago. Since then, clearly a lot of things have changed. Many have not. What struck you?
You know, being right in that spot again today, 2 years later, I couldn't stop thinking about what it was like 2 years ago. The blood in the dirt and the grass at our feet was nauseating then, and in so many ways, just thinking about that today was nauseating all over again. As well, the sound of the artillery today, off in the distance, but it wasn't really. It was so close you could feel it in your chest every time it boomed. And every time it boomed, you're reminded that the war that effectively began right there 2 years ago is still causing so much misery for so many.
Indeed. Paul Hunter in Jerusalem. Thank you. Now, as you saw in Paul's story, the site of the Nova attack is still a gathering point, especially for survivors.
Everywhere we stop, we're just getting shot like in seconds.
Later in the hour, the horrors they endured, why some are coping with trauma more easily than others, and whether their recoveries might someday help others living in constant violence. Now, for 2 years now, we've been showing you images of the destruction inside Gaza, but still, it can be hard to conceptualize just how much damage has been done. This was Gaza City in May of 2023, a city that, at the time, was home to around 600,000 people. Well, from a slightly different vantage point, this is what Gaza City looks like now. This photo, taken days ago. Many of those homes you just saw reduced to rubble. Crystal Gamansing now with those who've had to live through that devastating transformation, some who are actively working to help those in need, others who are simply trying to survive.
In Gaza, the colorful light of daybreak pulls back the curtain, exposing despair. Everything was turned upside down on October 7, says Umnader Kaloum, adding she is desperate for the life she once had. According to the United Nations, Israeli military operations have destroyed or damaged nearly 80% of all of the structures in Gaza and displaced about 90% of the population over the course of 2 years. A day in this war is the equivalent of everything we've seen before, says Youssef Abdelkader, a paramedic who describes multiple rescues a day and witnessing the death of his colleagues. Where am I supposed to find peace, he says. Israel's stated goal is to eliminate Hamas, but health officials in Gaza say more than 67,000 people have been killed, hundreds more recently due to starvation. Hamas and Israel have agreed in part to a 20-point peace plan that would end the fighting and return the hostages. Negotiations are still underway in Egypt to try and solidify a final deal.
We have a lot of power, and we're going to do everything possible to make sure everybody adheres to the deal.
But Israel continued to strike Gaza in defiance of Trump's calls for the bombing to stop.
It's too hard for me and for my children as well.
Salma Tawil and her family are from Gaza City. Displaced through the war, she's tried to continue her humanitarian work in hostile surroundings.
It's a bomb very close to me.
Still, that moment, she says, was nothing compared to being trapped in this building for days, pinned down by Israeli fire.
We were not able to speak to each other because once we speak to each other, the quadcopter, the helicopter will start shooting the building.
She and many others say after 2 full years, she's exhausted. But mostly, she's afraid of what her children and others in Gaza have seen. Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, Sderot, Israel.
We have more ahead from Tel Aviv, but now let's turn things over to Christine Birak in Toronto.
Thanks, Adrian. Safety concerns led Montreal's Concordia University to cancel classes today ahead of a large pro-Palestinian rally. That decision, one of many illustrating the ongoing division in Canada, both on campuses and beyond. Sarah Levitt now with how the demonstration unfolded.
A pro-Palestinian protest watched closely by Montreal police. The crowd outside of Concordia University's downtown campus.
For us, I think October 7th really is the marker of when the genocide started in Palestine. So that was really the main idea behind marching today.
The university canceled classes Tuesday ahead of the rally. Its president saying in a statement after a protest Monday led to 2 arrests, the threat of extreme disruption is simply too high to operate as usual. Concordia has seen tense demonstrations and counter-protests over the past 2 years, police often acting as the buffer between the two sides. It's even escalated to violent confrontations inside the school. All this has some Jewish students and staff worried.
It's not really a comfortable and safe place anymore for, it's been that way for a long time for students who, have any kind of Jewish identification on them.
A pro-Palestinian gathering at University of Toronto's Mississauga campus is drawing condemnation. Organized by the student union, it was advertised as honoring our martyrs, a way to commemorate the lives lost in Gaza, they say, though organizers did not respond to comment about the name.
Imagine walking on campus and seeing a protest talking about honoring martyrs on that day. It's just abhorrent. It's impossible to take it any other way than blatant discrimination, hatred.
Back in Montreal, the crowd weaved its way from one campus to another, McGill. At one point, an Israeli flag covered in red hand marks was set on fire, another sign of the deep anger over this war. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
RCMP in Alberta have released dramatic footage of a hit and run. A warning, you will see a pedestrian struck by a vehicle, but she is okay. The 17-year-old girl was walking across a marked crosswalk in Airdrie, north of Calgary, when she was hit last week. The male driver then got out of the van and appeared to be upset. He then fled the scene. The girl had only minor injuries. Police have released surveillance video from the night a newborn baby was left on a doorstep in Longueuil, Quebec. Police are hoping to identify this person, as it appears they may be holding the infant in their arms. On Sunday, the baby was found wrapped in a blanket with the umbilical cord still attached. The baby was taken to hospital and is in good health. 2 leaders of the Convoy protest that brought downtown Ottawa to a standstill 3 years ago will avoid further jail time. Chris Barber and Tamara Leach were sentenced to house arrest today. Nicole Williams brings us the reaction.
Selfies, signs, and a crowd eager to get close to Chris Barber and Tamara Leach. The two seen as heroes to these supporters for helping lead what was known as the Freedom Convoy. Truckers from across the country occupied Ottawa for weeks, protesting COVID-19 restrictions and vaccine mandates, honking and truck fumes at all hours.
If you can come to Ottawa and stand with us, that would be fantastic.
Leach and Barber were both found guilty of mischief 6 months ago. Barber also guilty of counseling others to disobey a court order to stop the honking.
Grab that horn switch and don't let go.
The judge in this case sentenced both to 12 months of house arrest and another period of a strict curfew, and each must serve 100 hours of community service.
For my client's comment, he respects the judge's decision.
The main objective was to make sure she didn't spend one more day in jail, and that was achieved.
In her decision, the judge says the protest caused serious detrimental effects on the citizens of Ottawa, including the millions it cost the city in both police responses and business losses, but that both Barber and Leach did their best to work with police and to lessen the impacts on the city.
I know a lot of people probably aren't happy about that sentence, but I'm hoping that we can start all moving past this a bit.
Leach's team says they are considering appealing her conviction, and the Crown is trying to seize Barber's truck, the one he used to drive down here to Ottawa, leading the convoy. They say it's a symbol of the protest and the means he used to commit mischief. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Ottawa.
Two premiers are in a heated debate about the possibility of a new pipeline from Alberta to the BC coast. BC's premier criticized the project, calling it a fictional proposal. Now Alberta's Danielle Smith is firing back.
I think Premier Bree's comments are un-Canadian and they're unconstitutional.
David Eby was asked about Smith's comments, saying any federal money behind such a pipeline should be made available to all provinces.
It's not the Danielle Smith show, it's the Canadian team. And we all deserve the same opportunity for the same federal funding for our projects as she does for hers. That's not un-Canadian, that is fair, and there is nothing more Canadian than fairness.
Smith is negotiating with the federal government in hopes of finding a way to get a new taxpayer-funded pipeline built to the northwest coast. A disappointing night for Blue Jays fans, with the New York Yankees avoiding a sweep on their home turf.
We're hot right now, we're going in, so confidence is pretty high.
We'll take you to New York next. And a fishing trip with an unexpected visitor.
My brain was trying to process what we were seeing.
The rare wildlife sighting is our moment. We're back in 2.
Three-two again. Diving stop at third by Caballero. He will throw him out, and that's the ball game.
Blue Jays fans left disappointed after the team lost their chance to sweep the Yankees and clinch the American League Division Series. Jays fans were watching all over the country. Some even traveled all the way to New York to watch the game. Now they're heading to Game 4. Thomas Daigle joins me from outside Yankee Stadium. Thomas, it was a promising start for the Jays, but they couldn't pull through for a win.
Yeah, it sure looked like early on the Jays were on their way to another blowout win, this time here at Yankee Stadium. But the Yankees managed to turn things around and take control of the game.
Oh, Canada.
It may be America's pastime, but Canada's team is looking to make history.
True patriot love.
Never before in the playoffs has "O Canada" been sung at Yankee Stadium, nor have the Blue Jays ever played here with the stakes this high.
It was a good weekend at home, and this is still, we're treating this as if it's 0-0 series. You know, you can't take your foot off the gas.
Let's go Blue Jays, yeah!
In hostile territory, but still proudly wearing blue, Jays fans descended on the Bronx.
In your Blue Jays blue, how has that been?
A little intimidating, but
we already got a F Toronto shouted at us, so yeah.
It's heckling me. It is what it is, though. I mean, I got thick skin. It's cool. Just like the Jays.
Braving that sea of famously intense Yankees fans, Canadians made the trip from every corner of the country.
Just excellent, just to be here, like honestly in person, that's just all what it means to me, but yeah.
This is the best I've felt since 2015.
Father and son Brian and Brett Campbell arrived early after a full-day trek from Grand Prairie, Alberta.
We're Oilers fans, so usually we're coming from behind lots, so that's what we expected with the Jays here, but this is an unreal situation to be sitting in right now.
Canada's team taking the field energized, fresh off crushing the Yankees twice. And it wouldn't take long for the red-hot Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to do this.
And a swing and a high drive to deep left center.
A 2-run blast in the first inning, his 3rd home run in 3 games.
He's done it again. The booing only intensifies. Ahead 0-2. High in the air.
Later, Yankees superstar Aaron Judge responded with his own 3-run shot, tying the game and giving the New York crowd a jolt.
So for the first time in this series, the Yankees have won the ball game, 9-6 the final score. Both teams will return here to Yankee Stadium Wednesday night for Game 3. Again, it is a must-win for the Yankees, but with one more win, the Jays have a chance to make it the next round, the American League Championship Series. They've got 2 more shots, Christine.
All right, thanks, Thomas. Thomas Daigle reporting outside Yankee Stadium.
We have more ahead from Tel Aviv, 2 years on from a day that changed everything here. Do you feel like you've changed as a person?
I think I did.
How survivors of the Nova Music Festival are coping and what researchers are learning from their trauma. That's next. Plus, Rosie's here with that issue.
Hey, Adrienne, the Prime Minister, as you know, met with the President in the Oval Office today for a second time with hopes for a deal.
We're going to get the right deal for America, right deal, obviously, from my perspective, for Canada.
So what's been made of the meeting? What kind of deal can be made, if any? Chantal, Althea, and Andrew join me to talk about that for our special mini at issue.
Taking Canada's tariff fight to Washington, the Prime Minister hears directly from the U.S. President.
It's a very natural conflict, and it's something that we're working on.
Rosie and at issue on a pivotal day at the White House. But first,
we're talking about an acute trauma that evolved into a chronic state.
2 years after the Hamas attack on Israel, why the experiences of some survivors are being monitored closely. They're studying those who escaped the Nova Music Festival. How they are coping might reveal clues to recovery in a region where lives are filled with constant violence. Likely those are artillery shells still being fired into a broken Gaza, not fired at him, but nerves are frayed.
I'm okay.
Nova Festival survivor Eviatar Schindler is doing his best.
Do you feel like you've changed as a person?
I think I did. Yeah. I think she's worried because of the sound. Yeah. It's okay. Don't be scared. I'm keeping you safe.
You think your country's changed?
Oh. My country? Yeah.
Better question would have been, in how many ways has Israel changed since October 7th, 2023? For a moment, put yourself in this place, the festival just before the attacks. The lightest of moments, until the music stops. Shouts of red alert. Then chaos. "44 kidnapped, 378 murdered." Memorialized now at the festival site, smiling faces at eye level, frozen in time. You have to think that on that October 7th morning, all these young people are having a fantastic time. And then when the attacks happened, they must have realized there really weren't any good options for them. Those who went for the road found themselves ambushed by Hamas. Those who fled on foot ended up being stalked for hours. Eviatar was. Like thousands of others, he and his friends ran into a valley chased by gunfire.
15 kilometers from us.
Okay.
On foot, it's not very easy.
No.
I told them everywhere we stop, we're just getting shot like in seconds. We cannot stay in the same place.
How he managed then and since is more than a caring curiosity. Researchers are studying whether substances festival goers took changed the effect of trauma. What had you taken?
I've taken a pill.
For Eviatar, it was ecstasy, and he thinks it helped.
It gave me a lot of energy.
To run?
To run, yeah. I also have a knee problem.
Okay.
Before the war, from my military service. But back then I was running for hours and I was okay.
He said the psychoactive drug changed how he remembers Nova, even now. Visually, he still sees it as dreamy, looking like heaven while feeling like hell. One of the details he and 1,000 other survivors shared at the University of Haifa with Roe Admon and a team of neuroscientists who've tracked survivors over 2 years.
This is the biggest group of people recorded being under the influence of different substances while exposed to a traumatic event, by far. So this is the sensor. We place it on their hand.
They track the biometrics of survivors.
These are all saliva samples.
Test their saliva for inflammation markers, and the early results suggest some drugs did help for a time with better sleep and feeling more socially engaged.
People who were under the influence of MDMA during the trauma itself had less severe clinical status 3 to 6 months after the event, particularly compared to people who were under the influence of cannabis and alcohol during the event.
To know why may explain what trauma does to the brain and how to heal. Think of the difference that could make the world over. Including in the world next door. The crushing trauma Gaza will one day confront is cumulative. Loss and fear chronic. There's no studying it in Gaza now, they're just trying to endure it. But prolonged trauma is tracked in Israel, and researchers are worried. They saw more PTSD symptoms develop a year after October 7th than in the first few months, possibly because the violence of that day dragged on and war's toll isn't done yet.
So we're talking about an acute trauma that evolved into a chronic state, and this really limits people's ability to reach closure and to recover.
Severe and lasting trauma of the kind experienced by Itamar Dahari, hiding from Hamas for 15 hours. All the gunshot-riddled, burned vehicles dragged to a lot that's become a testament to horror. That's where we met Itamar days ago, looking for a car he'd loaned to a friend and still looking for calm.
It takes more time from what I think in the beginning, you know? I think maybe 1 year, and then it can be okay, and no, 2 years, no.
Itamar knows of the neuroscientists, but hasn't talked to them.
I came to the party maybe 10 or 15 minutes before the Hamas started shooting. So I haven't the time to take something, you know?
Right.
I don't need it.
But you do need help.
I have some people that care, and psychology, psychiatry. So I think that it takes time, you know.
Restless, angry, and really trying. That's the fate of those who lived, this realization that surviving doesn't guarantee thriving. Unlocking how to do that as priceless a goal as peace. We also spent some time in Cairo following efforts to assist some Palestinians who escaped Israel's destruction of Gaza. The need there is urgent, especially for those with catastrophic physical injuries. Here's just a little sense of a story we're working on. In the early days of the war in Gaza, roughly 100,000 Palestinians made it out of the Strip to Egypt, saving their own lives but wandering into a life in limbo. When it comes to people fleeing the war in Gaza, the Palestinians who've managed to get here are not considered refugees. They're referred to as evacuees. And that's a difference that matters because it means that as evacuees, they're not entitled to any of the help that international agencies normally give to refugees. That can look like no residency papers, no schooling, no official work permits or credit cards. So safety, yes. Status, no. And aid, that's complicated. A Canadian NGO among those trying to fill the gaps, trying to find a way to 3D print prosthetics for Gaza's war wounded who made it to Egypt. Their project is brand new and a little under the radar.
Do you worry sometimes that the will is all there, but the capacity might not be?
Well, we're worried that, officials can walk in at any moment and say, no, we changed our mind, we don't want this to continue.
It's very risky.
Even established licensed charities at times overwhelmed by the scale of the need.
I have been working in Syria crisis, in Mosul crisis, in Mogadishu also, but these injuries and traumas for the children and the Palestinians is totally different.
Gazans away from the violence now, but it's a war they will never leave behind, no matter where they go. That story coming soon on The National. For now, that's it for us from Tel Aviv, but there's plenty more to come after the break. Mark Carney's second Oval Office sit-down with Donald Trump. Top of the agenda, trade and tariffs. What else?
I want to make whatever the best deal is for this country and also very much with Canada.
Rosie and At Issue tackle what that means and where things stand on this crucial file. Next.
At Issue tonight, the Prime Minister talks trade with the U.S. President.
We want Canada to do great, but you know, there's a point at which we also want the same business. We're competing for the same business.
We're going to get the right deal for America, right deal, obviously, from my perspective, for Canada.
So, new urgency now for the minister in charge.
There's a desire to see how we can, starting with the steel and aluminum sectors, structure something that would be in the economic and security interests of both countries.
So what did we learn from that meeting? Is a friendly Oval Office meeting cause for hope? Was there any sort of political win for the government? I'm Rosemary Barton, here to break it down tonight. Chantal Hébert, Andrew Coyne, Althea Raj, thanks everyone for being here on a Tuesday. Chantal, it was a very friendly meeting, but at this stage, nothing has changed, although talks continue apparently tonight and maybe into tomorrow. What did you make of it?
Well, I guess first things first, nothing bad seemed to happen. So no one is walking away worse from Canada's standpoint than going in, which in these circumstances is already a good place to start. Clearly, at this point, and who knows for how long, Mark Carney and Donald Trump seem to have a fairly cordial relationship, which is not necessarily bad. Now, the rest of it depends on whether you think that Mark Carney's team learned a lesson from what happened last spring, that i.e. saying or raising expectations as opposed to lowering them. And they lowered the expectation going into this meeting. Maybe they still are. Maybe they still think they will come out of this with something that looks like not an empty hand, but we won't know for a couple of days.
They seem to have learned a lesson around timelines anyway, because no one is talking about deadlines or timelines as they were both times before, the Prime Minister and Dominic LeBlanc. Andrew, what did you make of the tone of the meeting and what it might tell us?
Well, Mr. Trump certainly likes Mr. Carney. My theory is because he looks like he's from quote-unquote central casting. It may be because he's a white male millionaire, but for whatever reason, they seem to get along fine. How much that actually cuts ice and gets us any benefits, I think, remains to be seen. They were wise, as Chantal said, to have lowered expectations going into this meeting. I'm not sure they necessarily lowered them quite enough. Unless a last-minute miracle happens, which is certainly possible, but they don't seem to have gotten very, very much. And I'm increasingly concerned about the outlook for the renegotiation of CUSMA, as I prefer to call it, NAFTA. In that, A, it looks like tariffs of some kind are here to stay. We're in the position that other countries are of trying to simply minimize the damage. And B, they're talking increasingly of trying to cut it out into two bilateral deals rather than a trilateral deal, which is very much not in our interest. If you have two bilateral deals, that's a hub and two spokes. The investment tends to locate in the hub.
Althea.
I think my colleagues are being very diplomatic, cordial, fine. Like it was almost like a contest of who could suck up to whom the most. It was very uncomfortable for all the talk about Barack Obama and Justin Trudeau having a bromance. Nothing came close to what we witnessed today in the Oval Office. But setting that aside, and I'm going to set aside the CUSMA discussion, I think what's most concerning is what we don't know about this. So nobody has been very direct. The president said in his comments that we had basically agreed to sign on to the Golden Dome, the missile defense program that's $200+ billion. But Dominic LeBlanc refused to acknowledge whether or not Canada had agreed to do that. Dominic LeBlanc talked about an energy partnership with the United States in exchange for relief over sectorial tariffs in steel and aluminum. An energy partnership with the United States? I was under the impression that the whole point of building out our energy was to court new markets and to reduce our interdependence and our dependence on the United States. So I think there are some questions that deserve to be asked and answered.
Sure. One of the things LeBlanc also said was that the White House has asked them not to talk about the details of the negotiation, and certainly that's something the Prime Minister
But that is a resetting of the relationship that they did not campaign on.
Sure. Chantal?
Yes, for those of us who are old enough to remember the free trade briefings when we negotiated the initial free trade agreement with the United States, this was not a briefing of any kind. And Althea is totally right. We don't have a clue what happened today, where this is going, or where it will go. We are by now judging this by give it 3, 5, 6 days, and if nothing happens, then nothing happened.
Right.
That's basically where Canadians are.
Part of the reason we don't know anything may be that they don't know anything. You are dealing with this White House with 2 levels of negotiations, maybe more than that. But certainly you've got Trump himself, for whom it is mostly about satisfying his psychological needs to be at the center of attention and to have praise showered on him. And so every world leader who's dealing with him has basically hit on this strategy. They're managing a toddler. But you've got people around Trump who have varying ambitions and varying objectives. They're united, it seems, by a protectionist ideology, a belief that rather than, for example, rationalizing production of automobiles North America-wide to everyone's benefit, that it's a zero-sum game. It can only be one country wins at the expense of another. And dealing with those people and these conflicting or multiple objectives, multiple ambitions, I think would try the patience of any negotiator.
Chantal, quickly, and then last word to Althea.
Yes, I understand the impatience and the opposition seizing on this, but I do think that there is a test on the main opposition party to show what else it would do if it were sitting in Mark Carney's place.
And if there's no outcome, if nothing comes of this second meeting, Althea, how damaging is that for the Prime Minister?
I don't think it's that damaging because I don't think that many Canadians really expected something to emerge from it, frankly.
But surely they expected some resolution at some
Well, I mean,
point
it's
from
bad for the economy. It's bad when you
Yeah.
look at job losses. It has huge consequences for our country. But in terms of like political damage to the government, I just think it fits in a narrative that has already been established over the last few months.
Chantal?
Same here. I can't add to that. I don't think people waited for a deal today, and I don't think that they believe that Mark Carney is not doing what he needs to do on this.
Quick last word, Andrew.
I don't think it does huge damage. I do think it lets a little more air out of the tires. There's just a gentle diminution in people's assessment of Mark Carney as having initially been this kind of Superman, and I think he's much less viewed that way now.
Okay, maybe something will happen between now and Thursday, and we'll have something fresh to talk about. But thank you for being here on a special Tuesday at Issue. Appreciate that. We'll be back in your feeds, as I said, on Thursday for our regular show. Thanks so much for watching. I'll throw things back now to Christine in Toronto.
Thanks, Rosie. Coming up, a wildlife photographer captures a very rare sight.
Oh my gosh, that is a beaver. It's a white beaver.
The encounter and what's behind it is our moment. That's next. Wondering what you're looking at? It's hard to tell, but this is a very rare white beaver spotted in eastern Ontario. Dennis Jackson, a wildlife photographer, stumbled upon the animal while he was out fishing. Tonight, this rare sighting is our moment.
Oh my gosh, that is a beaver. It's a white beaver. I was out fishing with a neighbor, and the next thing we knew, we saw it swim underneath the boat. This big, massive white beaver. My brain was trying to process what we were seeing. It's just acting and behaving like a regular beaver. I don't know if it knows it's white. We just stood there in complete disbelief. It had a couple little streaks of brown on it, but it was overall mostly white. The nose is pink. And the ears, it's just so cool. I didn't even know that they existed. Both of us had shivers run up and down the back of our necks. It wasn't we were intending to go out and find it. We stumbled on this. This is a pretty rare experience. We were just really happy to be part of something unique and really special in nature. Never in a million years did I ever think we'd come across one. It's thrilling is what it is. It's absolutely thrilling.
Such beautiful shots. Dennis, as a biology professor, confirmed it is a white beaver. I thought must be albino, but biologists say the beaver had black eyes, which points to an extremely rare genetic condition. It can produce dark pigmentation, but not transport it throughout the body. Well, from all of us here at The National, thank you for being with us. I'm Christine Birak. Take care.